Hey Fae folk, welcome and welcome back to another doll ranking video. Sort of. Today's video is actually going to be a little bit more conceptual, a little bit less concrete, because rather than ranking any dolls in particular, I'm going to be ranking different doll line tropes. And what I mean by that is different themes that are extremely common to find in doll lines, like across brands, where it's not, oh, Monster High always does this. It's like Monster High, Barbie, Rainbow High, like you name it, it's a trope that like might be found in one of their doll lines. So think lines like slumber party lines or swim lines or winter lines, that sort of thing. I thought it would be fun to go ahead and do a ranking based off of these like really common themes that we see across, again, different doll lines, and just to kind of give you my thoughts not on any particular doll, but the idea and the concept as a whole. Now, with that, I always give the disclaimer that these are just my opinions and you're free to disagree, and that obviously still holds true for this video. Just like extra disclaimer here, I feel like I regularly have sort of hot takes on dolls, but I think especially with this one where I'm talking about like themes and tropes, I honestly think that my takes are going to be a little bit even hotter. Like, I think that it's going to be even more unpopular opinions. So if I say I hate something, that's okay. You're absolutely allowed to love it. We're different people who enjoy different things. Just please don't take it personally if I shit on slumber party lines and you love slumber party lines. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today, guys. Hopefully it will be fun for y'all. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the ranking. Alrighty, so as per usual with my rankings, we are using Procreate, and the tiers that I have for today, top tier is Give Me More, then we have Solid Theme, Good Sometimes, Whatever, Never Hits, and Please Stop. Also, I do want to say thank you to everyone who submitted like ideas for themes to include in this video. I asked you here and then also over on Instagram and got tons and tons of responses. Not all of them featured in this video, just because I did want to stick with the ones that I felt were like the most commonly seen across, again, like a variety of brands. But I do just want to shout out all of you for responding. Thank you as always. So to get into it, we are starting off with Western themes, and the example that I have here is the Wild Wild West. Nope, not quite. The Wild Wild West line from Bratz. With all of these, I do have like an example photo because like it would be kind of boring if I was just sitting here ranking like words. I feel like that wouldn't be as exciting a video. But do keep in mind that I'm not talking specifically about the Wild Wild West line. I'm talking about Western lines as a whole here. And that's going to be the same for all of these. So this is so funny because I feel like even a couple of years ago, I would have been like, ew, Western, not my vibe, not my thing. But like the older I get, I think my mom's Texan blood is really getting to me because I do think that they can be really cool. I feel like this was something that we saw a lot more commonly like when I was younger. I don't feel like this is as much of a theme anymore. And I would love to see it have a comeback. I would really like to see, I was going to say Rainbow High, but like, I would have loved to have seen a Western line when Rainbow High was like at its peak, but I think it could be cool to do like a Western line for Monster High. It might be really interesting to see how they incorporate different like monster designs into the Western theming. I don't know. I feel like this is a theme that isn't as popular nowadays, and we really need to bring it back because I feel like we could have some super cool Western themed dolls. I think I'm going to put this all the way into solid theme. Like, it just feels fun. I don't know what it is. It's not something I would have expected for myself when I was younger to be saying I love Western dolls, but like there's something about them that has been drawing me in lately. So high ranking for them. This next one I also feel like is not as common anymore, and that is like mall or shopping themed dolls specifically. This one, kind of a rough image. Some of these are going to be rough. I do apologize. But this is the shopping spree line from My Scene. And I feel like when I was younger, maybe it's because wow, we're definitely going to get into some tangents in this video, huh? I feel like maybe because like mall culture is not as big of a thing. I know, at least in my area, there are tons of malls that I've seen that have either fully died out or are on their way out. Like, it's not necessarily, I feel like, as popular to just go to the mall to just vibe. Again, maybe that's just in my area or just like the places that like I interact with. But maybe that's contributing to it because I feel like when I was younger, again, the like shopping lines or mall lines were so popular for dolls. I mean, here you can see like having the different bags and like they might come with extra accessories. Like if they've been shoe shopping, then they'll have their bags and their bunches of shoes or like hair accessories or whatever the case might be. And I honestly do think that these are pretty fun lines. They're not something that is necessarily inherently exciting in like the fashion way, at least as far as theming goes. Like they can obviously have cool clothes, but it's not like Boom, Western. But I do think this is a cool concept because it's a really easy way to incorporate extra pieces into a doll and have it be kind of thematic and kind of more exciting, where it's not just like, oh, here's a doll, here's 3 extra pairs of shoes for no reason. If you just slap these little like cardboard bags in there and call it a shopping line, suddenly it kind of feels more thematic and more interesting, and you still get the benefit of getting those extra pieces. And I do feel like that's something that's kind of exciting, to get to have extra pieces that you can mix and match on your doll, or that you can give to like other dolls. I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of a vibe. Definitely not as strong as Western in my opinion. So we're going to put them in good sometimes, because I definitely think that they could be boring or they could be really cool. Then we have just pet lines in general. So I have the Rescue Vet from the LOL OMG line here. And this one is kind of hard. I honestly debated putting it in this video just because I do feel like it's not always a concrete line. Like Monster High had the Fabulous Pets line. I almost forgot the name there for a second. But I do feel like these releases tend to be more of one-offs rather than like an organized lineup. Like with the LOL doll here that you're seeing, this is just like the playset with the Rescue Vet. But to my knowledge, there weren't any other dolls that like were supposed to correlate to this. It's not like they released 3 other LOL OMG dolls who each had their own pet that you could like take to the vet, right? So I did kind of debate putting it in here just because I think it toes the line on what counts as like a thematic line. And that's the whole point of this video. But pet dolls are so common that I feel like it's okay to bend the rules, because even though they do tend to be one-offs or like two-offs, I feel like pets are such a common trope within dolls, especially nowadays. Like you'll see dolls that come with pets for honestly no real reason. Like they're kind of just thrown in there. I'm not really talking about those. I'm talking about pet specific ones. I'm talking about Barbie with her dog, or Barbie with her cats, or the LOL dolls, or like I said, the Fabulous Pets line. Just pretend that stuff like the Barbie extras who came with pets for absolutely no reason, that doesn't count. I'm talking lines that are like pet focused, or dolls that are pet focused. So all of that rambling aside, I think I'm going to put this in good sometimes because I am an animal lover. I love especially cats. Y'all already know I'm a huge sucker for cats. And I do think that when the line is done well, or the doll is done well, pet playsets and pet like inclusions and dolls can be super fun. They just can also be absolutely terrible. So I feel like I have to go in good sometimes because it feels so hot or cold to me, so hit or miss. It's either amazing or it's like, why would you even release this doll? Next up, we have the birthday trope, when we have Sweet 1600 as an example from Monster High here. And I don't really know how to feel about this one, because I think my thing is that I don't I don't usually care about the birthday aspect necessarily, but I do tend to like these dolls just because they do tend to be wearing like fancier clothes, right? Like these dolls are kind of in nicer dresses, or Claudine's got like her little suit situation going on, which is super adorable. So I feel like I like the product of this trope, but I don't really care about the birthday aspect. Like I know with the, at least the original like release of the Sweet 1600 dolls, they came with gifts for Draculaura, and like that's cute. I just didn't care about that nearly as much as I cared about the fact that these outfits are pretty. I don't know if that makes sense. I think I'm going to also put this in good sometimes, which I am beginning to fear is going to become like a very oversaturated tier, just because I do think when it's something like this Sweet 1600 line, where it's like, yeah, it's a birthday, but it's more kind of party focused, and it's not super kitschy, super like happy birthday written everywhere, because I feel like that does sometimes happen where it's just like really aggressively birthday themed. I don't like that as much. But when it's something like this and it's kind of just like a nice party, that's a vibe. So good sometimes it is. Okay, here's my first really hot take of the video. So we have Sweets themed dolls. And for the example, obviously I went with Sweet Screams from Monster High. I feel like this is such an iconic lineup of Sweets themed dolls. And I understand the appeal. Like, I feel like so many people love this theme. It's like such a beloved theme to me, at least like from what I see online. I don't care. Like, I really genuinely almost never like it. I am drawn more so to like, even though I don't like Ghoulie as much, dolls like this Ghoulia, who has more of a gummy theme, because I feel like it's got a lot of the transparent plastic that just tickles my brain for some reason. But ice cream themes, or like cake themes, especially like cake and cookie themes, I'm so tired of seeing that shit. I'm so tired of just sprinkles and icing. Like, not that it's not pretty, but I guess maybe it just feels like a little overdone and a little bit easy to me almost. Dare I say that? I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I know that's a hot take. I shouldn't even say maybe. I just don't feel the same joy with sweets themed dolls that I feel like so many other people do. Very rarely there will be one that I'm like, I actually really love this. But for the most part, my eyes just like gloss over them. It's like, oh, okay, there's another release I don't care about. I'm going to put them on whatever because it's definitely not something that I think is like a dumb theme or like a gross theme or whatever. Like I don't have super negative feelings about it. I just don't feel that much. I like just don't care. So whatever it is. Okay, cheer dolls. We've got the Rainbow High cheer line as the example, mostly because I think that this is, while I don't have and didn't want any of these dolls, I honestly think this is kind of like the pinnacle of cheer dolls because they all have their own uniforms, their own makeup and everything. So while they are all like in uniform, they're obviously like coordinated doing this together. They also do look different and interesting and unique. And most of the time, cheer lines are like just one uniform across the board. Maybe it's recolored, but it's like, here you go. Here's 4 dolls in the same outfit, basically. Give us your money. And I just don't get it. It probably doesn't help that I'm not a sports person. We will be talking about that again more later. So like cheer is part of that category, but I do feel like it's kind of its own separate thing. 'Cause cheer is like so much more popular to me in dolls than other sports, if that makes sense. But because it's like in the same genre, I guess you would say, I inherently am just not super interested in cheer. And then when you add on the fact that most of the time I feel like the outfits are really boring and really uninspired, I just never ever care. And I do feel like I feel a little bit more negatively towards the cheer dolls because at least with the sweets themed dolls, yeah, like we see cakes and cookies a lot, but there is creativity to be had there. Whereas with the cheer dolls, again, I feel like this is the most unique lineup of cheer dolls that I personally am familiar with, at least that I can think of right now. And it still isn't something that's super exciting to me. I think I'm going to put them in never hits. The reason they're not bottom tier is because I honestly don't know if we're going to hit bottom tier this video. Because bottom tier to me is ones where I'm like, can you please, like I never want to see this doll trope again. I never want to see a release like this again. And I don't know if I feel that way. We'll see. But yeah, we're going to put them in never hits because it is always just kind of like, why am I here? Oh, actually, immediately after I said all that, this might end up bottom tier. So this is like the school or nerd trope, and we have the back to school line from Ever After High as an example. I will say the like back to school side of this sort of situation does not really bother me, or even like classroom themes. I think that's cool. This is like all kind of under the same umbrella, right? But the nerd themes, I fucking hate with such a passion. And I've ranted about this on the channel so many times. Specifically, I've ranted about Geek Shriek from Monster High. I didn't want to use that as the example just because I have like a lot of other Monster High examples on here. But I genuinely despise lines where they're like, oh, let's just put glasses, normally ugly glasses. I just lost my pen because I'm getting so heated already. Like glasses can be cute, okay? But they always pick the ugliest fucking glasses to put on these dolls and they're like, see, it's a nerd now. Ew. Like I'm so over this like stupid, I don't even know if it was like 90s because I was born in 97. So like technically a 90s baby, but I have no consciousness, like conscious awareness of the 90s. But like this trope that I know was for sure so popular in the early 2000s of like anyone who wears glasses is a nerd and like they're gonna get bullied and they're smart, but like no one cares. Like I just hate that trope so much. And it shocks me that when these dolls came out, that was like still a thing. I mean, you can see in half of these dolls, they've given them glasses, and it's like, can you please just do dolls that have glasses just because they have to wear glasses because their eyes don't work instead of immediately being like, oh, let's just like stereotype them? I understand fully. I'm like going off. I understand fully that out of all of the stereotypes in the world and like stereotypes within dolls, the nerd stereotype is like not that serious. Like I do fully understand that. I get that there are much, much more harmful things that we see within like stereotypes with dolls and the world. But it just pisses me off as a glasses wearer because I am so unable to see without these things. It just makes me mad that I feel like they can never just be nice, like, oh, here's a cute doll who wears glasses. Like that's so rare to see. It's always got to be this stupid like nerd thing. And I don't even dislike nerds, okay? I'm a fucking nerd. I did okay in school. I don't like to toot my own horn. I shouldn't say okay. I was like smart in school, and like, so I fit kind of the stereotype in that sense. And it's not like that it's bad to be school smart or that it's bad to be nerdy and like bookish and into silly things. Like, I'm not trying to say that it's bad. I just, the equation of glasses with that stereo, I don't know. It just, it very obviously bothers me for some reason. I just think it's stupid. And I do feel like it's like a lack of effort. Like some lines, I kind of reference classroom lines. Those can be really interesting lineups, especially because you can get some play sets in there. Like that can be super fun. But when you do school themed lines or nerdy lines where it's like, just slap these glasses on a budget looking doll with an ugly outfit and call it a day because that's what the nerds get, it pisses me off. I did not need to do all that. With all of that said, while I do think that like school lines can be done well, I kind of have to put that in bottom tier after that huge rant. Like, at least in the way that they're currently executed. If you can do them better, go for it. But like, if you're just gonna give me that nerd shit, stop it. Or like, make nerds fun. Stop making it a weird, like, negative thing where you don't put an effort to your adults. I need a drink, first of all. Water. I'm in a goofy mood today, y'all. I'm sorry. Anyway, we can move on now. Next up, we have the camping line, and this is the campfire line from Bratz. This is very close to winter, which we are going to touch on, but I do think that it just barely merits having its own subcategory, kind of like cheer versus sports, just because I do feel like there's less of a focus on maybe like winter sports or like, you know, being outside in the snow, and it's more of like a warm fire tents play sets. Like it's a slightly different vibe. It also doesn't have to be cold to be camping, now that I'm thinking about it. I'm so silly. Anyway, yeah, I felt like they were two kind of separate lineups. I don't camp. No, I'm very much an inside person. I do like being outside in the sense that fresh air is nice, but I have absolutely no desire to sleep anywhere other than my bed. Maybe my couch. My couch is like quite comfy, but I'm not sleeping in a tent. So I do think that campfire dolls and campfire lines, or camping lines, I'm like calling it by the name of this particular line, I do think that they can be fun. I don't have a particular connection to them because it's not something that I'm remotely interested in. So it's like, I'll pick up a doll if I like the fashion. I'm not opposed to camping lines, but I don't have any strong connection to them or strong like interest in them. So I think they're going to go in whatever. Ooh, okay, next we have costume or masquerade lines. Those were both suggestions that you guys submitted, and I did kind of just like squish them into one because I do feel like they're very, very closely related. And I love costume lines. As someone who adores Halloween, who loves getting to dress up, like any occasion, it's not just Halloween. Like I love the idea of dressing up and doing little themes and stuff. Like I love the Renaissance Festival because I get to put on like my big poofy outfit and I get to go and like pretend to be in the past. And that stuff is just so fun to me. And so costume lines in general, I just feel like it's so exciting, especially because looking at the costume ball lineup from Rainbow and Shadow High that we have here, I think it's really cool because you can get a lot of very, very different designs all in the same line. Like the witch to the fairy to the vampire, those are all extremely different things. And I think it's really cool to get to see them all like be included in the same line and they all like kind of go together because it's just costumes. It's just supposed to be fun and exciting and like doing something completely out of the box. And I just adore it. They are not always executed well. I fully understand that. Like, I'll give you that. But as a theme, whenever I hear that a brand is coming out with some sort of masquerade or costume line, I'm immediately excited. Like, I immediately can't wait to see the images and see what they're going to come up with. So this absolutely has to go up into Give Me More. Ooh, okay. The next one is like dance, like school dance, because a lot of dolls are in like high school, or just any formal line. We have Formal Funk from Bratz as the example here. And again, I love formal lines so much. I really love fancy dress dolls. I love getting to see like poofy gowns or really like beautiful satin gowns, just all of these different design elements that you can incorporate and the beautiful like glamorous makeup and like all of the accessories. There's something about formal designs that I feel like can be so fun and so creative, so beautiful and so elegant. Like Genuinely just everything about formal themes. Again, like I'm always excited to hear that there's going to be a formal theme coming up because I feel like they're so fun and I love my dolls to look super glamorous. I say this all the time on this channel when I'm talking about different like doll themes, not obviously in a dedicated video like this, but just in general, that I tend to like either really interesting day-to-day dolls or I like fancy dolls or costume dolls. Those are like my top ones. So it's probably no surprise that this is going to go into Give Me More as well. Okay, this next one is another one that's like kind of a big mishmash of a few different things. Any like travel or exchange or like cultural themed dolls, I wanted to kind of just put all into the same. So we have the Monster Exchange from Monster High as the example here. Other things that might count are like the Tokyo Go-Go from Bratz or like even Dolls of the World from Barbie, I feel like could be considered something that fits into here. And this is so tricky. I feel it shouldn't be tricky. First off, let's just say that it shouldn't be tricky, but for some reason it is because I do think that the idea is really, really super. I love the idea of getting to see dolls in outfits and in clothing that's inspired by cultures that I'm less familiar with and just getting to like be kind of introduced to different cultures, or especially I know a lot of the times like with this, like I almost said monsters. I don't know why that was, I mean, I'm looking at Monster High dolls. I don't know why that almost came out, but I do feel like it's something that's like, it's a theme of a line that brands will use to introduce new characters a lot of the time. And a lot of the time those characters are like from new cultures to the lineup where like they are adding representation that they didn't have before. So I think that that can be a great tool. However, I feel like it's also something that brands mess up so often, and that's part of why I wanted to include the Monster Exchange line. I actually didn't know this until recently, and I feel like I have certainly called Marisol by like her full name on this channel before and not realized I was doing it. But apparently her last name is considered, I don't know like if slur is the right word, but it's like not a term that should be used, which is not good, not okay in any capacity. So it's like, wow, I love to get to see Lorna McNessie, like she's from Scotland, like that representation is cool. Getting to like see different representation is nice. But then if you don't do it right, if you don't care enough to do the research, or God forbid, intentionally include something that is a harmful stereotype in there, this can go from a line that's either really amazing and like really cool at promoting different cultures and showing off different cultures, or it can become something that like is inherently insensitive and harmful to those cultures. So I kind of have to put this in good sometimes because I feel like if you just fucking talk to one person from that culture and consult with them to make sure that your designs are not coming across accidentally as insensitive and like you're doing it right and accurately and all of that jazz, these are great lines. But apparently that's really hard for companies to do because they keep doing shit that's like insensitive. Sorry, I'm like really heated today. But yeah, so this has to go in good sometimes because I think it can be wonderful. But for some reason, even though it's not that hard to, again, just consult with one person from the culture, companies somehow manage to make it a flop. So yeah, good sometimes for now. I would love to see in the future that be something that I can put into Give Me More, because if it weren't for the fact that companies have a propensity to be insensitive about the cultures they want to represent, I would love to see more dolls like this. It's just, sadly, it's not always perfect like that. Okay, golly, I did not expect to get so impassioned about so many of these categories. I was like, oh, I'm going to sit down and film like an easy little video. Nope. Anyway, sports. I don't like sports. I don't really care for sports. One of these dolls here, the one on the left, I can't remember her name, I'm so sorry, is a figure skater. Figure skating's cool. I sometimes like skating dolls. Roller skating dolls are fine, but like for the most part, sports dolls, basketball, football, tennis, soccer, I don't care. I don't care about sports. Like it's just not something that is interesting to me, and so it's inherently not a theme in dolls that is interesting to me. So for me, I'm going to put it in never hits. I'm not going to put it in please stop because I do fully understand that there is a category of people who will love dolls like this, and I think that's absolutely a vibe. Like you can be interested in sports and dolls, and that's super cool to get to see them intersect. It just doesn't hit for me. And also it's not in bottom tier because every once in a while there is a doll that is like one of the few sports or like active related things that are interesting to me. So technically never hits is a misnomer, but like that's where we're putting them. Oof. The little sibling lineup. We have got the Rainbow High Littles to take a look at as the example here. Oh, God, it's terrible. Here's the thing, is I think that doesn't have to be terrible. I think that inherently introducing siblings is not always a bad thing for a lineup, but the way that companies use this line, like use this concept, I feel like it is always when they're on the decline. I'm thinking about like the little siblings from Monster High G2, where it was like they just randomly started throwing these things in and they were always so awful. And now the Rainbow High Littles that we're seeing, like with the reboot, with them really pivoting to a much younger audience. So it's not that I hate little siblings or like hate the concept of like younger siblings to characters that we already know and love, but it's not something that I think companies almost ever give actual thought to. Like it's not, here's a fully fledged doll who is their own person and they happen to be related to this character, but like they still have the detail and the design and they're still unique, all of that. It's never that. Like companies never end up doing that, or almost never end up doing that. It's always shit like the Rainbow High Littles where it's like, oh, here's like this weird super budget thing where it's like we're calling these the younger siblings of these characters, but they look identical to the characters. They have no personality. Like, just here you go. Eat it, take it. I can't stand it. So these have to go into please stop just because of the way that companies utilize this theming. Ballet is tricky because it is kind of similar. We have the ballet line from Ever After High as the example here. I kind of feel bad that my examples that I used Ever After High are rough. But like ballet is another thing where, I mean, even recently, I'm going to forget the exact name, but there was that ballet Barbie doll that like surprise dropped on Mattel Creations and sold out. And she was beautiful. Like that was a really fun ballet doll who obviously had some thought paid to her. Like she had an actual design and some actual quality to her, which was super lovely to see. So it's not that ballet as a theme is a bad theme. In fact, I think it's a really cool theme. I like the idea of fancy stage costumes and tutus and like interesting makeup and referencing even specific ballets, I think could be really, really cool. But most of the time, this is another theme that ends up getting produced either when a company is like on, or a brand is like on the way out, or they want to just make something super budget, so it's molded on top, molded on leggings, fabric skirt, as you see here. And so because of that, I feel like I don't like ballet dolls, not because I don't like ballet dolls, but because for some reason it feels like companies are so reluctant to give us good ballet dolls. It feels like they keep that concept in the vault and they only pull it out when they don't want to put money into it instead of just making like a nice doll. So I'm going to put never hits for the current state of ballet dolls, but they're not in bottom tier just because there is obviously hope. You can make a good ballet doll. I just, for some reason, no one seems to want to. All right, here we are. The slumber party line, which is representing just sleep lines in general, whether that's pajama party or just going to bed or whatever the case might be. And y'all already know, if you have watched almost any of my videos, somehow I managed to bring this up all the time. I do not like slumber party dolls, just in general. There's nothing wrong with them. Looking at this lineup of Bratz dolls, honest to God, I would buy every single one of these as a base doll. I think that these base dolls are absolutely gorgeous. Like the minimal makeup that they have on, I mean, some of them have a little bit more, but like the makeup that they have on, the hair, the hairstyles, it's all very cute to me. But I like my dolls in going out clothing. I like them, again, to either be wearing fun everyday clothing or fancy wear of some sort, or like costumes or themes. I don't personally see the appeal in having a doll who's wearing pajamas. Because like, are these cute pajamas? Sure. I don't have anything against them inherently. And I actually think the accessories that come with pajama dolls are really cute. Like all of these have their little like stuffed animals. Circle just one instead of trying to circle the whole thing. I don't know what I was doing there, but I love that. But like, I just don't personally want my dolls to be in pajamas because I just don't think that they're the most exciting clothing that I can put them in. So I'm so sorry because I know that this is like a beloved thing for so many people. I'm putting it in never hits. It's not bottom tier because I like recognize that they can be done well. And like, I'm open to the idea of purchasing a pajama doll that absolutely knocks my socks off at some point in the future. But for the most part, I just genuinely am like, I never find myself wanting them. Okay, getting close to the end here. We have the winter theme with the winter break dolls from Rainbow High as the example, not the Winter Wonderland dolls. We're looking at the better ones. And I do tend to really like winter themes. I don't typically care much for the like sporty aspect that I feel like does kind of bleed into it a lot. I mean, even in here, you'll see that each doll came with either snowboard or skis, and I don't really care about that. Like, it's cool. It's a cool accessory to have sometimes, but it's not like the main focus for me. More so, I do just like the fashion that tends to come out of winter themed dolls. I like the socks and the fuzzy boots and the earmuffs and the hats, especially when they care enough to do fabric hats, and like the jackets. I just feel like winter dolls, I mean, they tend to get some sort of layering a lot of the time, which is always nice for like restyling or even just getting to see a lot of details on a doll. And I do feel like I am kind of drawn to more wintry clothing in a way. Like the boots are super cool, the tights and like leggings are super, super nice. I love to see me a sweater on a doll. Like those are just things that kind of tickle my fancy. I wouldn't call them top tier. Like I'm not foaming at the mouth for more winter dolls, but I do really like them, so I'm going to put them in solid theme. Next we have Swim, and I have the Gloom Beach Monster High dolls as an example here. And this is like such a horrible dichotomy in my likes and dislikes, because some of you may know I am weirdly obsessed with pool playsets, especially Barbie ones, like older Barbie pool playsets, not so much the new ones, but like pool playsets are so fun. I don't know why. There's just something about them that like draws my little rat brain in, and I want more and more and more. I have one, and it's one of what, two playsets that I own? I think it's only one of two. So that says a lot that I have a pool playset. And unfortunately, I just don't really care as much about Swim dolls. Because why would I ever make anything easy on myself? I don't think that they're ugly. Sometimes I actually really, really love the like designs that come out of Swim dolls. I think it's more just a thing of there are typically a lot of releases going on at any given point in time, and because I'm interested in different brands and there's like secondhand dolls that I want to buy, like I feel like maybe it's more of a budget thing. Maybe it's more of a, oh, I could buy this formal doll, like I have the money for the formal doll, or I could get the Swim doll. Like the formal doll is going to be a little more expensive, but also it's like more fabric, more design, more like everything. So of course I'm going to buy the formal doll. So the Swim doll kind of just like gets forgotten, because it's not that I think they're ugly or that I don't like the idea of a swim line. Again, I love pool play sets. Like I need to populate them with some sort of swim doll, but I just feel like in general, they're not the first dolls that I find myself reaching for. They're not the first dolls that come to mind when I'm like, oh, what do I want to go spend my money on? So I think that's more of the issue. It's not that I dislike them. It's just that I like other things more, and I have a limited budget and limited space and all of that jazz. So they're not the dolls that I end up prioritizing. That's a great way for me to put it. I just had that realization live on camera. Okay. I don't know why that was so funny to me. I'm out here making probably only myself laugh. Anyway, we're going to put that into good sometimes. Then we have any sort of fantasy line, and I have the Bratz Fashion Pixies as an example here. And to clarify, this is like not fantasy brand. So like Monster High as a whole doesn't count, because like the whole brand is built on a fantasy. This is like, I mean, this is like the best example I can come up with. I know there are other ones. My brain is just like blanking. It's where the dolls are like typically just dolls, but then they'll get turned into like fairies or mermaids or whatever the case might be for like a specific lineup. I mean, even within Barbie, I guess you could count like the different Dreamtopia lines. Like some of the mermaid dolls that come out are kind of like that, where like they definitely make regular quote unquote non-fantasy dolls, but then they have a lineup that is more fantasy. And these are really hard for me because if you know me, you know I love a fantasy concept, but I do think that, again, a lot of the time, at least recently, especially with Barbie, like a lot of fantasy dolls I feel like get a little bit of a lower budget, or they're very plastic heavy instead of getting like a lot of fashion to them. So it's hit or miss when it comes to how these dolls are executed for me. Love the concept of the theme. I don't necessarily feel like companies always utilize that theme to its fullest potential. So I am going to go ahead and put this into good sometimes. And then lastly, to round out the video, we have twins. And good God, I could rant about this again, because I'm obviously not done ranting. I think it's almost like morbidly fascinating how many lines do twin dolls. And I do think that some of that is just playing into like the opposites trope. I know that Bratz did this a ton where it's like, here's the good twin, here's the bad twin. Or even like with Rainbow High, we have the Shadow High Storm twins as the example because I love these dolls. But like Rainbow High has Holly and Laurel Devious, where one is all the warm colors, one is all the cool colors. Like the opposites thing, I feel like is a big deal with twins dolls. And so I think that might be part of why so many like lines have twin dolls. But unfortunately, I do think there is also, I can't think of another word besides like a little bit of fetishization of twins just in general. Like, especially because, oh my God, yep, we're going on a tangent apparently. I like start to say things and then my brain's like, you need to talk about this for so long and I can't stop myself. So here we go. Especially because I feel like it is quite rare for any twin doll to be like a fraternal twin doll. Or, I mean, I guess like technically Holly and Laurel Devious, if you assume those are their natural hair colors, they wouldn't be identical twins because they have different hair colors. So like there's obviously some sort of difference in like the DNA presentation there. But the point is that most of the time, twin dolls are either like very nearly identical or they are actually identical and they're kind of just like dressed in different outfits. And I do think that, again, some of that just comes from like the opposites theming. That I think is mostly innocent. But I do feel like in general, and I understand because it's like something that's different, you know, like most people aren't twins. And so there is kind of a fascination, especially with identical twins, because it's just an interesting phenomenon. But I do think that unfortunately, a lot of people take it like really too far and it becomes like a weird thing where it's not just, oh, that's interesting that that can happen, but it's like you kind of, not you, the audience, sorry, but just people in general, I feel like can kind of stop viewing twins, especially again identical twins, as individual people, and like their entire identity in people's minds becomes the fact that they are twins. I hope that that makes sense. I hope I am speaking in somewhat of a coherent manner here. I just feel like there is like kind of a weird cultural mindset around twins sometimes, not saying all the time, not saying these companies necessarily are like intentionally playing into that, but I do just feel like that is kind of part of why twins dolls are so common, even though twins themselves are actually not as common, right? There is also the fact that I feel like companies might like to make twin dolls, especially ones that are identical, because they can just reuse the exact same mold. If they're just recoloring an outfit, they're using the exact same outfit, but again, just like in different colors. So it's probably very cost effective to make twins dolls. I don't know. I don't hate the concept, but I feel like they're only sometimes done well and in a way that is like, oh yeah, here's these twins, they just so happen to be twins, but here are their different personalities. And most of the time it kind of boils down the idea of being a twin to being a gimmick, which like there are real twins and they are individual people. And so like that's kind of, it's just kind of weird to me. That was, again, a whole rant that you didn't need. I don't know why I'm like this today. Anywho, I'm going to put it in good sometimes because I do think that there is a way to make twins dolls like the Storm twins. Like they have their own styles. They obviously like look a lot alike. They have the same color scheme, but they have their own styles. I don't know anything about their personalities because I didn't get that far in watching Rainbow High, but it seems like they could have their own different personalities. So like you can do twins dolls in a way that is like nice and cool and fun, or you can do it in a way that like kind of feels weird. God, I talk too much. Anyway, that they're going in good sometimes. I think I already said that. I gotta stop. So yes, that is the finalized ranking. You'll see that most of these I ended up putting into good sometimes, as I kind of realized early on was going to happen, just because I do think so many times themes like this, it's like it depends on how it's executed. Some are always great for me, some are kind of always rough for me, but this is realistically a pretty even distribution, so I guess that makes it a solid ranking. But yes, guys, that is finally going to be it for today. I really honestly was like, this is going to be a super quick video because I'm talking about themes. How much can I have to say? And apparently the answer is an ungodly amount. So thank you for putting up with my tangents. I hope this was fun anyway. Definitely would love to hear in the comments what your favorite and least favorite doll tropes are, whether it's one of the ones that I mentioned in today's video, like if you're really into these themes or if it's something completely different. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions, but I'm going to stop talking now. My mouth is dry, even though I took a little water break midway through. So I hope you guys were able to enjoy. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or your night, whatever it might be. I hope you're having a lovely holiday season, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.